This morning I'm going to be talking about mental law and spiritual truth. Kind of stodgy sounding, doesn't it? But there were some of you who attended a class that I gave last fall called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And we finished up just before Thanksgiving, and I said something about really wanting to get together for just one more session, perhaps in December. But December just got so hectic that the one more session never took place. And so this morning, I'm going to share with you an idea that I think is important to know. One of the things that I would have talked about in that extra section, or rather session, that then really never came about. So many times I've talked about the great mental law of sowing and reaping. You know, Paul wrote about this law. I've talked about it, but it always bears revisiting. It does. He said it so clearly, so forcefully in Galatians 6:7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Jesus again said the same thing, different words, in Matthew 7:1. Judge not that ye be not judged. With what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, ye shall be measured to you again. Now, so many of the New Thought teachings that you might read certainly are based on this great mental law. You can come at it from 360 degrees of the compass and utilize that idea. It's valuable. When we talk about the power of the subconscious mind, though, you have to realize that we are talking about the method through which sowing becomes reaping, because it happens inside of us. So, got that, right? Yeah. So what else do I want to say about this? This morning, I want to caution you about criticism. Criticism. Or Jesus calls it judging. Criticism, for better or for worse, has a way of gradually and subtly separating you from what you have been critical about. There has been many a person who's lost a job when they became critical of the people that they were working for. You might feel underpaid and not appreciated enough, but if you continue to feel that way, it's going to leak out of your body language, your facial expressions, and after a while, you will find yourself perhaps at the unemployment office looking for a new job. It comes through. Our feelings are broadcast, whether we know it or not, whether we're aware of it or not. Criticism, irritation, a continuing negative feeling about anything, person, place, or thing, will gradually remove it from your life. It might be something valuable, useful, but it just annoys you, but it will leave. Because first we sever our connection within that person through our own conscious and subconscious mind, through our feelings, and then a break takes place in our life's experience. You know, many years ago, and this is ancient history, but my husband had a very valuable employee in his business. She did an excellent job. People would call up and ask to speak to her and have her help them. And for some reason, and nobody ever, I think, ever found out the reason why, things started bothering her that had never bothered her before. She took a terrible dislike to the store manager. She accused him of breaking out the headlights in her car. Now, he'd never done anything to this woman, but she started complaining about him, and she started complaining to the customers about her job and the other people in the business, especially this manager that she had taken such a dislike to her. And Eddie heard about her talking to the customers, and he called her in and said, please come to me if you have any complaints. Whereupon she let loose this diatribe about the manager that she thought had broken her headlights. And Eddie tried to reason with her. Anybody passing by the parking lot of the store could have just maliciously done that to her car. Manager wouldn't have any reason to do that. She needed to change her attitude toward him, and it did no good. Things didn't improve. In fact, they got a little worse. A tension developed in the business. Certain people stopped talking to other people except what information they had to convey to them. This woman was a bit mercurial. Now, this was, as I said, a number of years ago, and I guess the job market might have been a little bit tight. But she would periodically get upset, and she would come into my husband's office and say, I think you better find someone to replace me. And because she was so good at what she did, and perhaps it wasn't too easy to find other employees of her caliber, he'd always answer, well, think it over during the week, and if you feel the same way by Friday, I'll do that. Well, long before Friday rolled around, she changed her mind, several times. Well, one day she got upset again, and she came announced the same thing to Eddie, and he said, well, if that's what you've decided, and 2 weeks later she was gone. She went to work for one of our competitors. But she wasn't any happier there than she had been working for my husband. She hinted to some of her old friends back at Eddie's business that she wouldn't mind getting her old job back, but that wasn't going to happen. Because she would have brought back all the tensions, she would have brought back the dramas and the disagreements that had gone on when she was there. She severed herself from that job. First, mentally, subconsciously, and then physically. That unfounded dislike of the manager and the things that were going on in the workplace, ordinary things, that severed the connection. So, see, we cannot criticize, we cannot condemn someone or something and expect to keep it. If it's something we want to receive, watch out if we criticize it, because maybe you've heard people complain or speak about the fact that they just couldn't understand these people who were so wealthy and they did this and that and the other with their money and threw it here and there. And at the same time that they were criticizing this wealthy person, more than anything in the world, they wanted to be rich. Yeah. You cannot condemn someone for having what you want. That's giving mixed messages to the subconscious mind. Instead, we need to rejoice. We need to give thanks for that other person's good fortune, for the success or the abundance that they have in their lives. And our feelings of negativity about wealth they will absolutely outweigh any mental things we would like to have, or even if we're saying affirmations about it. We have to watch what we feel. We have to pay close attention to what we criticize, what we might condemn. Have you ever purchased or been given something that you really didn't like? Well, it has a way of disappearing pretty quickly from your life. Either you re-gift it, or it breaks or tears or something happens to it. Now, this is absolutely true when it comes to any kind of relationship. Dr. John Gottman in Seattle, he worked at the University of Washington in Seattle. He's a professor emeritus now, but he was there for more than 40 years. And during that 40 years, he studied successful marriages. He had a lab that was equipped with video cameras and EKGs and all sorts of custom-designed equipment. And he and his colleagues intensely observed what happened when people interacted, or couples interacted with each other. Now, what he found was that couples that stay together are nice to each other. Is that a surprise? They're nice to each other. And then he went on to realize and preach, talk about the fact that it was absolutely essential that they maintained a 5-to-1 ratio of positive to negative moments in their interactions. 5-to-1. That would mean that these people weren't being critical of each other. They were finding the good within one another. That's so important to know. Now, I truly believe that the same ratio is going to apply to any partners, any people who are close to each other. Employer-employee relationships, friendships, family relationships, even next-door neighbors, business partners, for instance. Now, it doesn't mean that these people don't have disagreements, but there is respect. There is affection. And basically that same ratio, that ratio of 5 positive to 1 negative, has got to be maintained. And Dr. Gottman found that couples headed for divorce allowed that ratio to slip below 1-to-1. So they weren't even giving each other any kind of positive, very little positive and negative. What's the point? What's the point to all this? Don't criticize what you want to keep in your own life. Don't find fault with it. Find the good within it. Don't criticize what you want in your experience in life. If you judge, as Jesus called it, you will be judged. You'll be judged by others, but most especially you'll be judged by your own subconscious mind, because it will make certain that that person, place, or thing disappears, moves out of your life. That's an important mental law to understand, to keep in mind. What you want around you, don't criticize. Don't find fault with, find the good within it. But as important as knowing the mental law, it is far more important to know and use the spiritual law, spiritual truth, which is knowing that God is omnipresent. God is present within every person, place, thing, including the bad-tempered ones, including the irritating ones, the times and places and situations where we're disappointed, somebody's unkind, unfair. Perhaps there is some painful or frightening interaction going on. Right there, within that person, within that situation or condition, God is, and God is omnipresent, and because God and good are synonymous, we keep remembering that good is right there with the irritation or the disappointment, the unfairness, the unkindness, the pain, the grief. Right there, God and good are present. In the midst of the darkest, most painful, as well as the most uplifting and fun and joyful moments of our lives, God the good is right there. Accept the omnipresence of God as the foundation of your life, the truth with a capital T, and you will not only survive in life, you will thrive. You will overcome. To know that good is present in every experience in life is like creating a sort of Teflon shield, and long-term worries just are no longer there. It just runs off like water off a duck's back. You don't feel discouraged for any period of time, or depressed, or worried, or angry. You might experience some of these things temporarily, yeah. But as you remember the truth, with a capital T, it comes to you with such a healing for those feelings that they disappear, they evaporate. I will find a solution to this challenge. That's what takes its place. There is a hidden blessing in this experience, no matter how upsetting or frightening it might be. I am loved and guided, even though I don't know what the heck I'm going to do. Not right now, but I will know. I will be led. This infinite force, this all-knowing divine energy that created you as part of His very being, is with you at all times, in all ways. Talk to Him. Talk to Him. He patiently awaits your attention and your trust and your love. He is waiting for that, looking forward to it. So instead of letting that rush of anger or shock or fear, upset, completely overtake you, just stop right there and take a couple of deep breaths, or maybe 3 or 4 deep breaths, and tell God how you feel. Talk to Him then. That's when you need Him. Tell Him you don't know what you're going to do, or if you know what you have to do, you don't know for certain if you know how to do this, or maybe you don't know whether you're going to have the strength to do this, but lay it all out. Lay out exactly how you feel. And watch the quiet come in. Watch the peace be reestablished within you. You know, if your child or someone you dearly loved came to you and said, please, I need help, how would you respond? The automatic thing would be, yes, I'll do whatever I can. Well, that's the way God responds to you and me. It's with love. But love also fully housed in wisdom, because there are some things that we get wound around the axle about that'll go away. We don't need to be rescued. If we're patient, we will indeed find a solution. Just a little while. Just a little while. God loves us unconditionally. The smartest, the wisest, the most spiritual, the most powerful man that ever walked the earth said, of myself I can do nothing. Jesus depended completely on God. Absolutely. And that's what we have to do too. That's what we have to do. Your relationship with God, you're talking to God, you're seeking His will, you're knowing that He is with you, showing you the way, protecting you, loving Him, being grateful to Him for all the things in your life. That kind of dialogue, that wonderful relationship with divinity is the most important thing. Because from that springs, from that unfolds every good. Remembering omnipresence is the most important spiritual truth of all. Never, 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 never forget it. Shall we go within? Prayer. It seems like such a big word. Have to do it on your knees. Need to do it in church, maybe. Need to have some kind of special relationship with God. Have to be real good. That is a bunch of stuff. That is untruth. You just talk to him. You just turn to him mentally. You don't even have to talk. And he knows. And he is there. And he loves you without measure. That which created the universe is love in action. That which created you is love and action. And love never fails. As we take those deep breaths, as we just still ourselves momentarily and turn to him, somewhere in our deepest self, we know that it is all right. It is just as it should be, and it is unfolding in divine order. As we remember this, we have but to give thanks, to relax, to feel peace, to give thanks. Thank you, dear God. Amen.